everybody, and welcome to a Drew McIntyre celebrating.
Woo!
Drew McIntyre commemorating.
Woo!
Drew McIntyre emulating episode of The Brothers of Drew McIntyre.
Woo!
We're going to talk everything from Drew McIntyre winning the Drew McIntyre Royal Rumble. I swear there's more than Drew McIntyre, but mostly Drew McIntyre. WWE writers taking the opposite of a risk by letting Charlotte Flair win the Ladies Rumble. And, Matt, this week we had the return of one of the greatest superstars in WWE history. And I'm talking, of course, about the legend killer, Randy Orton.
Woo!
Oh, and Edge came back. We'll also squeeze in our weekly Wednesday Night War segment, that and much, much more. Not a slight to Edge, but more a compliment to Randy Orton, who I've missed.
Woo!
As usual, wrestling, it's hot, it's like a fajita, it's spicy like a habanero.
Ow.
Right in the eye. Matt, how are you?
Doing fan-fucking-tastic, Mike. Just
Randy!
couple of weeks ago, I was telling you, why do I even bother? Drew's gonna lose, and we're all
Randy!
gonna be sad. But,
Broke.
Mike, obviously, everybody knows. I couldn't be happier with this, and I just...
Broke.
What really blows my mind is how many people have actually said, it's good, but no, this was fucking perfect, top to bottom. But we'll get into that in a minute. What you want to do is follow us on bodpodcast.com and brothersofdiscussion.com. Follow us on Twitter at bodpodcast. Facebook, we're the Brothers of Discussion. Instagram, we are the brothers_of_discussion, where we actually have a joint Instagram account that features, of course, pro wrestling, but also our other podcast, The Discussion 5, which is about Detroit Red Wings hockey and can be found on the Hockey Podcast Network. All of that fun stuff, though, is has a hub, and again, that's bodpodcast.com. If you could, we are trying to expand the show right now, so now is the time to get on board with your subscribing, your rating and reviewing. Big announcements probably coming in the next couple weeks of what else we can push the show onto now that we've decided to sign up with a new distributor of podcasts. So with that great news, Mike, let's jump into the greatest post pay-per-view discussion we'll ever have.
I know we were there in person, humble brag, but I'm just saying, from start to finish, the Royal Rumble is a tough task to write. Essentially, you're trying to write 30 small stories,
right,
and then still end up with, a build for WrestleMania, and, it doesn't seem like it sometimes based on the results, but, leave you happy at the end of the night with a fitting conclusion. And I gotta say, the people who are upset with how they wrote Brock Lesnar dominating in the beginning, I seriously worry about your ability to, look at something critically, because this was one of WWE's masterpieces.
Yep.
Putting Brock in there, we've talked about it before in other Rumbles where Roman Reigns will enter it after he won. He'll enter it 27, 28, 29, 30, and he's there to prop up other people. So essentially, Brock was there at number one, and you built this monster who's just eliminating everybody. Nobody could get momentum. The closest we got in the first 13 spots was Kofi Kingston, and the crowd lost their mind when he came out. But nobody could put a dent in Brock. He was rocking and rolling, and what that did is whoever got to eliminate him, if he was eliminated, that would make you just larger than life because you were able to knock out the beast. So the Rumble was essentially two halves. One half, we built up a monster. The second half, it was about, now that the monster, the beast, is out of there, what's going to, walk tall out of the clearing, out of the dust once it's settled.
Yeah.
And Matt, I got to say, when I saw Drew Claymore kick the skull off of Brock's body, I was a little worried because I honestly thought when that happened that would be his moment for the Rumble. And that after that, somebody else would win But he'd get to hold that that little jewel, and take that to WrestleMania and try to earn a big match that way. But no, WWE didn't half-ass this push of Drew, man. They let him eliminate Brock. He's right there for Roman. And by God, he's the last man standing. Matt, is this your favorite, not necessarily Rumble winner, but favorite Rumble ever?
Absolutely. I completely agree with the storytelling in this. They are trying to set up your new hero. And I've been begging forever. The man can rap on the mic. Like, I mean, the casting. How many times have we brought up casting? We haven't brought it up in a while, but over the course of the show, it's always about this guy fits the mold of the pro wrestling fan, of the WWE superstar, lover, the guy who loves Roman Reigns. If he was in a movie, you would believe that he was the hero in the movie. He's got the voice, the chops. He's got the charisma. He's got the body. He's got the look. Everything about McIntyre is he's one of the first guys in a long time, I think, that should check the box for every WWE fan. Because, again, he is pro wrestling. He went to the indie scenes when he realized that he had to do this to get on board with the fans. Think about the journey there. But then, you can't fight with the idea, right, that he hasn't put in his dues, because he absolutely has, and that seems to be the only thing that the indie fan cares about. It's just that somebody's put in the work, and he has. And the guy moves like he's much smaller. He doesn't move like the giant that Drew McIntyre is. So you get a kind of athlete that's very unique in the ring, and I just can't say enough how great it is that the WWE actually has a guy with some confidence and charisma walking around holding that mic. And we got our first test on Monday Night Raw, and he's taking down the OC, and, man, just commanding the crowd like, you thinking what I'm thinking? And then he's going to do a 2-on-1 handicap match, and the crowd just goes nuts.
Yep.
This is one of the first, definitely during this show, but one of the first times they're nailing it on timing. And the one, I just, there is a way to flub this up, but I right now I just want to pat WWE on the back and just say, you fucking did it. And it's one thing for me to be happy, but that crowd, how many Royal Rumbles have we left with just boos? Or even if half the crowd is happy, the other half of the crowd was on our side, where we're like, fucking Randy Orton again. God damn it. So it's just, this seems like the first time in a long time that everybody seems really happy with the Royal Rumble finish. And I for one, getting back to what the rest of this Rumble was about, like the quick teams that were formulated, the time, Mike, how many times have I said, like, what are they doing on Monday Night Raw? It feels like it has nothing to do with the next week. How about Ricochet getting kicked in the nuts so that he could kick Brock Lesnar in the nuts at the Royal Rumble? They actually took some time and put a storyline together, a mini storyline. That took effort. Granted, it's not the smartest thing in the world, and we saw how nut-kicking can go wrong with AJ Styles and Nakamura, but they took time. They put some effort into this. It really was fantastic. And to your point, if you don't see the positive of Brock laying out the whole roster and then letting McIntyre get the win, because when we think about this later, I don't think we're all going to keep going, oh my God, I can't believe Big E and Kofi got, dogged by Brock. Because you have to remember, he's not pinning them at this point, right? He's just knocking them out of the Rumble. So, yeah, he's a bigger guy. He's not destroying them. Everybody got up and walked away. Like Nakamura, who got job 2. He hits the mat, and he's punching the mat because he's so angry. Because he's like, that wasn't me being defeated. That was just Brock. Brock's going to be lucky, 14, 15 times in a row. The way that they booked that was great. Nobody was was actually destroyed. They were just knocked out of a Royal Rumble. All right, so I think we all need to like take a breath there. We got to see some valiant efforts from Big E and Kofi Kingston, Ray. I could have done
Mysterio in a Batman mask.
Yeah. Ray, I could have done without. Oh, but Ray Mysterio. But honestly, this was to set up our new hero, and even Drew the rest of the night, taking everybody's finisher, really like passing around like, all right, I'm gonna win this, so everybody gets to just beat the crap out of Drew McIntyre. And I'll say too, like you were saying, it felt like you were still worried Drew was gonna get knocked out. I think once I saw him take everybody's finisher, I was like, all right, I can finally breathe. I think McIntyre's gonna do this. But yeah, I think I just let's see how long I just talked here. I just went for about 5.5 minutes. So Mike, it's your turn.
So yeah, by letting Brock be the one who, steamrolls everybody in the first half, it does two things. It creates a mega obstacle for the winner. So it's one thing just to eliminate Brock, and then it's a whole other thing to just win the Rumble on its own. So instead, you got essentially two rubs. Going down in history as, one of the, 30-ish times that we've done this event. But also, like you were saying, there's no shame in getting eliminated by Brock. I mean, the way he's built up like God, how upset is Rey Mysterio going to be that he got, dumped by Brock instead of, gosh, I don't know, like The Miz? It would, it'd be kind of a nothing thing. But instead, he's part of, Godzilla stomping through, the entire roster. But yeah, at the end, like, I don't think you were upset that Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe got eliminated, because it all felt like it was part of a bigger plan, because now this WrestleMania build just looks excellent. Where it looks like Drew not only eliminated Brock, but he stared him down, letting him know, still coming for you, Brooke,
Yeah, and how scary was that? Like, him staring down Brock? I am just screaming, let it go, Drew, you did it. Pay attention to the match.
I know that there's so many things that I almost wonder if, the WWE writers, because they hit such a home run with this. I mean, they planted the seeds of a nut kick coming back to haunt Brock later. Knowing that we have expectations based on somebody doing a big elimination like that, a la, Baron Corbin being the one to eliminate Braun Strowman back when he was still a monster.
Yeah.
That was an accomplishment in itself. So knowing that, it was almost like the writers were teasing, our expectations. Well, he eliminated Brock, so he's probably done, right? He still got to hit some claymores. Usually when you get your shit in, you're done. But, it wasn't the case. And like you said, he stared down Brock, and, Brock didn't wait for him to turn his back and, pull him by his hair or something like that, pull him by his long chest hairs. None of that happened. It was just time. He started to win this crowd over, in the fall and into the winter, and it was so exciting to see, and we didn't have to, see Cain Velazquez. God, for bless America, that didn't happen. We just got everything we wanted.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that you got to give Brock props for is how long he laid out for that Claymore.
Yeah,
like super sell for McIntyre. As much as you want to say he buried the rest of the roster, everybody else just got up and walked away after they were eliminated by Brock. Brock laid down on the side of that ring for what felt like 5-7 minutes, right? I mean, there were a few guys that came in and were eliminated before Brock finally started shaking the cobwebs and walking away. So you can't ignore that. And we are looking for the super rub right now. We're looking for that move, the Claymore kick, that is going to be believable at WrestleMania to take down Brock Lesnar. I loved it. I mean, Mike, the next thing I could just talk about Drew McIntyre all day. I don't know how much you want to touch on the Raw performance, but there's another reason this Rumble might go down as one of the best all time.
I don't think that. I mean, it's up there with like '92 Ric Flair.
That one, I know what you're saying, but
well, I mean,
it's
just
pretty
like a
story.
Watch. I enjoy it. I think Cena's return was in 2008 at Madison Square Garden. That was a pretty well written Rumble as well.
Yep.
We really like the outcome for Nakamura, but I feel like this was just a far superior story.
Well, it was also clumsy. Like there were moments in that Nakamura one that didn't seem to really fit, but this one, I mean, even down to like the last 6 guys, and we're telling that story of getting Seth Rollins eliminated was beautiful, and then Randy and Edge, and Edge being the other name I think we need to talk about. But
you might want to touch on. You don't want to talk about MVP, huh?
Right. That was the one thing I wanted to bring up was about Brock eliminating everybody instantly. I mean, you know that these guys know what the game is. You know, what's the gig they sign up for? When MVP comes back to the WWE and gets jobbed out by Lesnar, like it's really not. We really don't need to get that upset about it because it's part of the gig. It's just Brock was on a tear. I mean, you can't just like you'd have to put another wrestler in that spot and go, holy shit! Like, what if the roles were reversed and like Drew McIntyre knocked out the first 15 guys? We would think that was pretty awesome, and we go, wow, what a great streak. But this is just, they're. You know where I'm going with this, but yeah, you could put MVP on a list of like guys you wished maybe didn't get jobbed out, so you could see him for a little bit longer. But I mean, you did get to see Brock dancing for a moment, and that's now become a pretty popular gif. I don't know what it is.
Like being there in person, real quick, is the camera work really sucks, and I think people are commenting on it on Twitter for the broadcast at home, but like. When Edge hit, they were showing the ring instead of like the entrance for Edge. We haven't seen this guy in 10 years. But the other thing, it just reminded me because of MVP, he had that really cool Black Panther gear on. I didn't even know what was going on. He was just out there for 2 seconds. He got eliminated. I shame on that cameraman. I thought that was the only bad part of the Rumble was the production.
Well, yeah, the in stadium or in arena stuff is always begs
questionable.
For yeah, I mean they'd cut away from big spots so that they could show like the Titantron will switch to the countdown instead of showing a big spot, and you're just like, what the fuck? So that stuff is always rough for me, and then you got to make the choice too, right? I mean, you're trying to get the crowd to count down, and they're part of the show, so then it's like, well. Fuck it, get that countdown started. We need them to start counting. And then for us at the show, we're like, what the hell's going on? All right, final count. But yeah, I think what's funny, I don't know how you felt when you heard Edge's song start.
I didn't believe it.
I didn't either.
I didn't get as excited because I was just like, oh, who's gonna come out? Is it Dolph Ziggler in a costume like 3 Faces of Foley or something like that?
Yeah. So like you said, we actually couldn't see Edge's entrance, but we hear you hear that You Think You Know Me.
Think you know me.
Metalingus starts up, and it really didn't even click to me. Like, the fact that the rest of the stadium was ready to go just blows my mind. Mike, I know the rumors were swirling all day. They
swirl every year, so that's why I was like, he's not coming back.
Right. I mean, at the same token, everybody was going, well, yeah, CM Punk and Edge will be the last 2 in the Rumble. And it's like, go fuck yourself. That's not, shut up. Yeah. And, it's just you hear Metalingus, and I don't know how the fans were so ready to react that way because it just blew me away. I was so taken off guard. And first of all, I mean, like, I'm focused on Drew McIntyre winning the damn thing, so I'm always keeping an eye on him and making sure he's not getting knocked out.
Making sure he's laying down.
Right, stay down! But I just gotta say, like, I think that is gonna stick with me first, is that, I mean, 5 seconds before you and I caught eyes, and I went, oh my God. Like, I didn't even really yell for a while. Like, I wasn't jumping up and down. The reaction that you and I had when Brock was knocked out and then McIntyre won, I have pinch marks all over my arm from, I don't know if you had a watch on or something, but we just rolled up my skin like, I don't know. It was disgusting.
Like pizza dough.
Yeah. But Edge came out. I mean, that was just pure shock for me. I just could not believe it. And,
yeah, I think I had a big smile on my face most of that hour.
Yeah.
Whether it was this build of Brock and just this incredulous, oh my God, what if he just goes all the way through the Rumble? And then Keith Lee's, name gets called, and you're like, oh my God, maybe this is it. And Brock meets Keith Lee for the first time and says, who's this big fucker? And then Strowman came out, and he actually got like a real pop because people were like, yeah, Brock's finally going to get his. And then just that emotional drop, when Brock eliminates both the big guys. And then Ricochet comes out, and there's kind of that.
Right. Oh, my God. It's going to keep going.
Yeah. Just more damage.
I think, I know you wanted to touch on, like, Keith Lee coming out, but I think to come back to that good storytelling for Brock, how about... Yeah. They had to have Keith Lee and Braun Strowman get knocked out so you could believe that Brock is finally getting tired, so it wasn't just a quick elimination for Ricochet. But
just another little wrinkle.
The smiles for Edge coming back though to get back to that. I mean,
you're right. I couldn't even cheer because I feel bad for parents who brought their small children because all I could say was, "What the fuck? Holy shit! What the fuck?" And there he was in the ring.
I'm going to say this. I don't see as many kids at these pay-per-view events as we see at, like, Raw and SmackDown. I don't know what it is. I think it is more of an adult crowd. Even when they do these baseball stadiums now 2 years in a row, 40,000 people. I feel like I'm walking around and all I see are people, I mean, we're in Texas, so all I really see are people in jean shorts and backwards Cowboys hats and holding 6 Bud Lights. But I mean, there aren't a ton of little kids walking around. Sorry.
There's a lot of dad jeans. Texas loves their dad jeans. I just wanted to touch on Edge too. Like, oh my goodness, not just the ovation, but like when he was in the ring, he didn't look out of place at all. His spears still look sharp. He still knew how to bump. And then he had that magical moment with Orton, and the crowd was just on their feet pretty much that last 30 minutes.
I don't think. I think I'm glad you brought that up because I completely forgot. You and I did not sit down. I think the second half of that Rumble, maybe from like Keith Lee and Braun Strowman coming out, and from then on we stood the rest of the Rumble. Like it was just it. The names that were coming out, I mean, they really, at this point, the roster is built for a Royal Rumble. Like, you don't even need, like, Edge coming back is fantastic, and that's what helps put this into, like, a whole nother level. But this roster is so deep. Every name that's coming out, you're kind of just like, oh boy, I want to see what this looks like. Yeah,
because think about it. Like, it used to be, there was, 30 entrants. Maybe, like, 2 had a shot to win. And then there was, kind of Bozo the Clowns and, I mean, I don't mean to not say doink. I just mean guys who had no shot at winning. And it was just kind of like, they're just elimination fodder.
Right.
There's definitely a few of those guys here, but, up and down, you could see, the Kofis, the Biggies, the Cesaros, Ray's a former winner. You had Drew, you had Seth, you had Kevin, you had Samoa, just tons of options. And so you're right. The roster's so deep that it kind of feels like, who made the cut? And I know they kind of ruined it by announcing many of the performers in this year's Rumble, but it's just kind of like, man, who made it this year? Because it's so tough to even get in there for a minute. with all the other people that would have to not make it for you to get your shot.
Right.
God, man, with I don't know if we want to, talk glowingly about this men's Rumble, because there was a whole card. And real quick, while we're still on Edge, I gotta say, when they said Hall of Famer, like I remember the intensity, and I remember him falling off, the ladders and those TLC matches. Was that Jeff Hardy he killed off the top of the ladder in like 2000?
Yep.
Yeah. But I forget what a great promo guy he was. When he's got the Steve Buscemi eyes, he's got the John Cena intensity, but he's still got that little bit of grit, like Orton. He's so good at his job, and he made that, what if promo. What if I, got to go out on my own terms instead of having to retire because of injury? And then Orton comes out and on Monday Night Raw and just, tries to act buddy. What about RKO? Team RKO one more time.
Rated RKO.
The crowd's going bananas, and Randy being Randy turns on him. And then Randy! And then gives him a classic concerto, and the crowd screams like they just witnessed a live murder.
That was what I tweeted out, and then your tweet did a little bit better. But like right before I tweeted, when you kill Edge, or that feeling when you kill Edge. And I got one like out of it, but then your video kind of outdid it a little bit. But no, I like the way you put it, Mike. So take it away. There was the Edge return, and then
the Edge return was huge. But I don't think Orton has really had tons of storylines that you sink his teeth into. I did like his feud with Kofi. I was optimistic about when he tag teamed with Bray Wyatt, 2 years ago. But man, like to give him a blood feud with Edge and be the one to maybe retire Edge at WrestleMania, I got to say that sometimes Mania is just kind of like, well, it's the big event. You get to see some cool entrances, but the card already looks huge with not just McIntyre and Brock going at it, the Fiend versus question mark, but now just Edge versus Orton in a death match. Like, oh, that's like going to be the third most important thing on that card.
Yep.
The return of Edge fighting his former best friend Randy Orton in a death match. It's beautiful, and they're set just like these weird little nuggets with Brock getting hit in the balls. We're setting this up, at Royal Rumble. We're setting it up the Monday Night Raw after. We got plenty of time to build this. It's going to be one of the all-time matches, Matt.
Well, here's what we got to talk about next is the Women's Rumble.
Oof. Yeah, Matt, hot tag question there. Did the right person go over?
Well, let me throw this out there. Do you want me to throw out the rumor first? Because I could tell you how I felt at the time, and then we could talk about this rumor.
All right, Matt, at the time.
I didn't like it. Like, I could sit there and I could go, yeah, that makes sense. And I talked with, shout out to Andy Hammond of Broadway Boys podcast. It's a New York Rangers podcast. Made the comment about, that he really likes Charlotte winning. And I could sit there and have the conversation and go, yeah, it makes sense. She's the easiest one to book. It's not a challenge. You've got Charlotte in there. Everybody has some sort of reaction to her, whether it's good or bad. And she's, one of the top 6. She's like one of the top 8 wrestlers, that wrestled between that in the women's room. Sorry, I'm taking a shot at Charlotte. Obviously. All right, so she's in the top 4 women for in the WWE right now for talent. I'll say that. I'm taking my shots.
I'll say it cross wrestling. Sorry, I'll say it cross wrestling. I said it. Sorry. There you go, Matt. Continue your point.
All right. Like clumsy stumbling around the ring. I guess that's okay sometimes. All right, where were we? Right.
Matt throwing shade. All right, so at the time, you were not super ecstatic.
No. It just felt like it was too safe. There's always...
You know what it felt like?
Yeah.
It felt like when Seth Rollins won last year.
Did it? Because when Seth Rollins won, I felt like it was what the fans wanted the year before, and that's why it happened, and they just pulled the trigger too late. That's my opinion on Seth.
No, well, the connection I'm trying to make is that it just felt like it's your turn. Kind of like musical chairs. And, we already gave Roman one, we gave Randy one recently. You know what, Seth, it's your turn this year. It didn't really have a build. I don't think the crowd was really super pumped about it. In Charlotte, it just felt like, well, we gave it to Asuka, we gave it to Becky. You're a big deal. You can have it now. And it's just like,
right. You
have Charlotte in your back pocket at any time. Any other wrestling promotion would kill to have Charlotte. She's a great performer. She knows how to do her job. She's comfortable carrying a whole division. I think she's a pretty good heel. Not my favorite face, but I can kind of see sometimes depending on who she's fighting. This is an A+ investment. But it's like you could have really shotgunned Shayna Baszler to the top. I don't know. I know we're not the biggest fans of Belair yet, but I can understand the appeal for them because she's another huge asset for WWE. You don't have a lot of women or men who do such seamless gorilla presses and have the charisma that she does. She's got work to do for sure. But she, you can see that she's, in baseball, she'd be a 5-tool prospect. But they didn't do that. They did the thing that they could do at any year, like if somebody got a boo-boo and you had to kind of backpedal what the plans are, and you got Charlotte.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I feel like even outside of the Rumble.
So here's what I'm going to tell you. One last thing, Matt.
Yeah.
Ready?
I don't get to finish my thought. Go ahead.
You're going to, because I just didn't want to lose my train. Ready? I think part of the reason Charlotte won is so that McIntyre's moment wasn't overshadowed.
They're so far apart on the card, and one of them's main eventing, and McIntyre would have knocked out Brock Lesnar. And
what we'd be doing is looking at a stalwart who hasn't quite had their opportunity on the main roster. So I think if you gave it to Shayna, it'd be like, cool. And then you try to do the exact same thing with McIntyre. You'd already kind of have it fresh in your mind, like, well, maybe they're going to do it with one of our boys now. They're we saw Charlotte get eliminated. We saw one of the top faces of the company prop somebody else up. Maybe. I think it just kind of helped make the magic for McIntyre, make it seem like less likely.
To be honest, I kind of hope they don't write the women's division that way, that they pick certain people to win and lose because they want the men's division to look better. I don't know, that kind of makes me feel icky. But also I think Shayna, she's not at that level for me. She's not so low that it would be like a shocker for her to win. That would have made sense to me. That would have been, now when she wins next year, it'll feel like when Seth Rollins won this past year. Just this would have been the time that clicked for it. I think that's what I would have been proud of WWE for doing is hitting the timing on that instead of, if the decision was let's have Charlotte win and then, 3 hours later Drew McIntyre will win and they'll be more excited. I don't know. With that, wouldn't they even say, well, Edge, you shouldn't be in this Rumble because this might overshadow Drew McIntyre? I think all that
I wouldn't look at middle of the match stuff. It has to be with the outcomes, I think.
So let me get to.
I don't really want to die on this hill. What was the rumor you were talking about?
Yeah, I was gonna say let's jump in there because I agree. Now I have a completely different feeling on it because the rumor is that they're really gonna try and sell the NXT brand, and Charlotte's not gonna see anything else she needs to do with Becky. She doesn't need to see anything else she can do with Bayley, and she's gonna want to take down Rhea Ripley. What's funny is how many people hate that, and they go, "Oh, they're just trying to destroy AEW." And honestly, why wouldn't your first thought be, oh my God, they're like giving us all the stops. They won't they won't hold anything back. They're going to throw Charlotte down in NXT to beat Rhea Ripley, or maybe go the other way. I'd love that, because I do feel like they flubbed up an opportunity to help sell somebody else. Oh, and the point I was going to make before was that even post Rumble, Charlotte should always be that option to just toss into, you know, if we're going to do a women's elimination chamber or something like that, you know, there's an opportunity. The Royal Rumble still feels like winning your golden ticket in, you know, Willy Wonka, where Elimination Chamber feels like that's where you let somebody dominate and win, kind of thing. And that's where it would make more sense for Charlotte to win. Not that, you know, she wins Elimination Chamber matches. She wins title matches all the time, and she wins the Royal Rumble. Just, I don't know. Not my favorite thing in the world. But if it goes this route, then you're kind of doing golden ticket, but in a different way, where Charlotte is handing it out, so it does lose. It loses a little bit of shine. But I do still like, you know, for me, all of this should be about giving somebody else some sort of rub and helping this roster build up and become, you know, the best roster it can be. So we're not just holding up Brock Lesnar and saying, this is our guy, we trust him. So then when Cain Velazquez shows up, well, it only makes sense. We've got Brock Lesnar at the top. Let's do Cain Velasquez. But yeah, that changes my entire opinion on this. If this was Charlotte was supposed to win it because she's going to help build up the NXT roster, I am totally cool with that. And I might even be fine with her beating Rhea, because that could just, I don't know, it could help build up the roster for when the next person comes up, because I think we know Rhea's a super duper star, so the next person to take down Charlotte could be, you know, anointed just like Drew McIntyre was. But anyway.
Yeah, I real quick before we with Elimination Chamber, I think you make a great point. Because Matt, I would rather see Charlotte win the Royal Rumble. I mean, I wish I'd, you know, pay for it, but no. I'd rather see Charlotte win the Royal Rumble. And then I think it would be more apropos to see like Shayna win Elimination Chamber. Like that seems like a match where she would really thrive. So if that ends up, if we're playing the long game and it gets both of them to, you know, on the WrestleMania card, I think they're playing their cards really well right now.
Well, the only thing for me, because we also have to be real with everybody's talent, and I don't put Shayna for pro wrestling talent at the top of the list. I think she's a great overall superstar, but I think we saw how clumsy she can really be fighting a new opponent that she doesn't get to spar with or practice with all the time. And I like her in the Rumble because we kind of get to hide her a little bit. And in Elimination Chamber, she's going to be facing 5 different people, and she could really be exposed. And I think if you want to build up a new talent, that's the last thing you want, is to expose her and have everybody see that maybe she isn't as ready to go.
You are really throwing some shade today.
Well, we had the conversation at Survivor Series. We agreed that she didn't look super great. Like, we know what Becky Lynch looks like. We know what Charlotte looks like. So who was the new element that was thrown in there that would cause a disturbance? Cause for a clunky finish? I mean, I'm not throwing shade alone, because we agreed on this back at Survivor Series. So don't act like you don't remember. I know you're going, whoa, look at Matt. Woo! I got saying the same thing I said back in Survivor Series. Whoa, look at him.
I don't think I threw shade at Shayna.
We're not throwing shade. I said we're being honest and talking about where the talent levels are at. Everything doesn't have to be throwing shade. Why can't we talk about hiding someone like Shayna and still being able to use
you called her
clumsy.
You didn't say she was less talented. You said she was clumsy. Both
of those work in my head, but go ahead.
I would just kind of pump the brakes on the negativity. I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing Shayna in a match at WrestleMania.
That's
fine.
All I'm saying. like, we don't look at Braun Strowman and go that he's the greatest pro wrestler of all time.
He's a 5-star classic machine.
I don't understand what's wrong. Why can't we ever criticize? You got upset when I was just kind of poking fun at Charlotte. Why? We can criticize the women's division. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Shayna could be in the element that Braun Strowman's in. Or that category. I don't see the problem there. But all right. Well, yeah, you're throwing me for a loop here, because it just doesn't really make sense how we would pretend that Shayna's putting in 5-star. I mean, you and I have talked about, like, her last few NXT matches haven't been so hot, and they've ended a little out of whack, and it just...
Yeah, I don't remember coming to a consensus that she's a clumsy oaf in the ring. I just
didn't say oaf.
It was implied. It was an implied oaf.
So then take it out. Then don't assume I meant that, and you won't be as angry. I have to do that at work all the time.
We've seen Becky make, some bloops and blops and blotches. It's it's fine.
I understand that. I still don't understand why we can't recognize it. And
I don't know. We've acknowledged she's not the greatest professional wrestler of all time.
Yeah. All right. I mean, yeah, I still don't know what the big deal is. You let her highlight, her strengths of a charismatic individual and a scary one at that, like the faces that she comes in with, and have that individual win at the Rumble, and then the person who's highly skilled in the art of pro wrestling, she could win Elimination Chamber. I kind of like that strategy, but
I think that she would thrive in the Elimination Chamber. That's where we kind of got off the tracks here, where she gets to be violent, knock people out, and then essentially it can still be one-on-one with everybody lying around, recuperating. It would also let her, focus on doing submission moves where, in the Rumble, you got to focus on things that you don't do very often, throwing people over the top and trying not to get eliminated. And, I don't know. I think, big picture, I think that, they still gave her some moments of dominance, and then there's still, a window to get her at, the Mania card. So I'm optimistic.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you're optimistic.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Outside of that, the rest of the Rumble card, I actually enjoyed a lot of it. I didn't think we'd enjoy that Roman Corbin match as much as we did. But we're really learning how Corbin is a national treasure. He's like a son. He's like like we have two sons, like Tatooine. There's the one that, we get our warmth from, and then there's, the sun is just a natural heat machine, and that's Baron Corbin. Watching him go in a toilet, compliments of Roman Reigns. I think a lot of us have gone to the toilet because of Roman Reigns. But on this strike, I was a little disappointed Baron Corbin didn't walk out of the Porta-John covered in poop. And then the the Asuka Becky match, I thought was maybe the best match on the whole show. As far as like a bell-to-bell wrestling match. And then, as we expected, Daniel Bryan and The Fiend. Thought they did really well. I thought the camera told a good story in that match. With Daniel trying to overcome the odds, and then that Fiend looming over him in the background.
Yeah, I mean, I like the rundown that you did there. I was pretty happy that the Fiend got over, and I was even more happy that there were actually people around us that were upset. I just...
It's a real miracle that Daniel Bryan got, people on his side over the Fiend. I think that was his job, was to try and make people realize, oh, yeah, he does wear a mask made out of human skin, and he has a belt that's also made out of human skin, and he just chokes people to death. That's his finisher. Like, it was a reminder that he's a bad guy.
Oh, okay. I was like, yeah, all right, where are you going?
He started to feel, sorrow for Daniel, and you wanted him to overcome, which we have not really seen yet. This is the first time I think people really latched onto Daniel, really latched onto the Fiend's opponent, and were pro, his opponent.
Now, Becky and Asuka, put on a hell of a match in my opinion, and I felt that maybe needed some more attention. I just, that was the first time where I felt silly in a long time for kind of going like, oh,
she's really good,
putting in some good luck. Yeah, that's the other thing too. We should all feel silly for forgetting how great Asuka really is, and that this wasn't just about making sure that that Becky had everybody crossed off before Ronda comes back, but I think it was also, well, let's put one of the best women's wrestlers on the roster in this match, and I'm okay with that. Because the Lacey Bayley stuff, that was I think Lacey's done.
That was a nightmare.
I think it doesn't matter what story we tell, the fans don't care, and the wrestling was bad.
I think she's done as a face. We talked about it last week, like why would you make like a large, physically imposing person like that a baby face? And out of nowhere, she's like, follow your dreams. I have a daughter. And it's just, when they showed her daughter in the front row, she's,
that part was kind of
not even paying attention.
When she like stuck her tongue out and gave a thumbs down to Bayley, that was kind of cute. But that was the highlight of the match. I don't know if they're trying to prove like, see, Bayley can't get people interested, but I think they need to give her more interesting characters to fight. So if Charlotte is not facing Rhea Ripley, and this was just something to get me to open up, some silly dirt sheet, it better be Bayley, because Becky can sell. We don't need to just have this, and then Ronda will come back, we'll do a rematch, and it'll be a triple threat, and maybe Shayna could come in, it'll be a fatal four-way with Becky and No! Give goddamn fucking Bayley something interesting to do, and put the second most
I think
popular...
she's going to probably feud with Sasha.
Then put Charlotte in there, too. Just Becky can get over. This is the same argument I had last year. Bayley needs something that looks like they care about it and want to put a little bit of time in.
Well, I think we saw the problem with this Lacey match is that nobody really believed Bayley as a heel and nobody believed Lacey as a face. So it was just kind of like, I don't know what I'm rooting for. I don't know what I'm booing. So I think probably the best story going into Mania, what they should do is just have Bayley and Sasha, one of them, betray the other. And if it's Sasha turning even more heelish, I don't think that's the best way. I think if you're going to go all in on, Bayley's got a haircut, she's got new music, no more inflatable tube guys, I think she's got to be the one to turn on Sasha. So then at WrestleMania, Sasha can get her comeuppance. People already like her anyway. It'll give us an obvious rooting interest. I think that would be the best move.
I just feel like Charlotte... Now, I was ragging on Charlotte earlier, but if you put Charlotte in that match, it goes up to a whole other level of main event status. And Sasha and Bayley fills out the WrestleMania card.
Wait, put Charlotte where?
Against Bayley.
Sasha and Bayley?
Put her against Bayley. However you want to put it together, I think it takes it up to a whole nother level. And what I'm saying is that Bayley and Sasha at this point just becomes another match on the card.
All right. I don't know if I would do that. I would probably, because, I like the one-on-ones at WrestleMania, so I would try to do Bayley, Sasha for the SmackDown title. I would like to do Charlotte versus Rhea, and then I would like to do Becky versus a returning Ronda or Shayna. I think that would be a really good card. But, that's ifs and nuts for candy and butts.
Yep.
I don't think I said that right. If ifs and buts for candy and nuts. I think I said ifs and nuts for candy and butts. But hey, man, overall, I would give this Royal Rumble event an A. It would have been an A++, but they just, what the fuck was that Bayley match? But anytime you see an A pay-per-view, you really got your money's worth because you essentially were entertained thoroughly for 4 hours. It's awesome. Matt, do you want to move on to some more stuff from this week?
Yeah, sorry, I just got a text message from my job, and it's really distracting, so I'm going to flip my phone over, throw it across the room. God damn it. Why do I keep my phone on while we're recording?
I don't know.
All right. Yeah, let's move on. Should we jump into some Wednesday Night Wars?
Let's do it.
Woo!
Wednesday Night Wars. We also forgot to talk about Worlds Collide, but my God, there's so much wrestling this week.
Well, wait,
so we had AEW.
I mean, let's just run through Worlds Collide. I mean, it for me,
Man, there was a modern day miracle because Imperium and Undisputed Era fought each other, and then Alexander Wolf legitimately got concussed by forgetting to not take a blow right to the face. So the Imperium, who is one of the biggest heel factions in wrestling right now, fought a 3-on-4 handicap match, and my God, Matt, they turned the crowd.
Yep. I mean, I might quicker than that, but no, go ahead.
I just, it's Undisputed Era, Matt. This is, everybody's got yellow shirts on. They're all, boo, Madam Cole, baby. And then they all ebbed and flowed with Walter's energy in that match. It was truly a sight to see.
Well, I just kind of wanted to say I thought it was fun that I mean, it was kind of sad to see what was going on with ticket sales, but it was fun to see the crowd kind of come around and start to get excited for a lot of these wrestlers that they just haven't taken the time to really understand. I got to give major props to Jordan Devlin. I think that was. Yeah. I think we walked away and said that was match of the night, and that's what we tweeted out. Ilya Dragunov and Finn Balor, fantastic match. No, we're not sitting here and going match of the year, but it was great. I
would say there were some moments where Ilya actually may have outshone Finn Balor.
Shone? Do you mean shined?
I think you can shone, can't you shone?
I think you shine, right?
Why do I feel like Michael in The Good Place?
I don't know.
I've shone, I've shined. Past and past participle of shine is shown.
And then, man. And then DIY and Mustache Mountain. I wasn't yawning during the match. That was another just fantastic show. And then, like you said, I could not have been happier for Imperium getting that win. I do love the story of them becoming faces by the end of that match. And I think what we saw finally was like like a coming out party for Walter as the ring general, because he was literally running the show and calling the shots as the match was going on, because they had to improv the whole thing.
Yeah.
But,
real quick, I want to dwell on that point just for a second, because you are so right. Like when it turned into a 3-on-4 and, my man Wolf had to get rolled out of the ring and taken out, the doctors ran down the ramp to come get him out of this match. Imperium and Undisputed Era, what was this, like a 35-minute match?
Yeah.
It took them like a minute and a half to like talk amongst each other. You could see them kind of trying to figure out, all right, well, now what the fuck do we do?
Yeah, I guess Wolfie was supposed to take all the big bumps at the end.
Yeah, a lot. Like you could see him kind of reshuffling on the fly. And I think you are 100% right that this, outside of that 90 seconds, which was understandable because the bump man was out, they figured it out. And it still looked like a super cohesive, 35-minute 4-on-3 tag match, which sometimes it's hard enough to get a 1-on-1 match, and somehow these guys got a 4-on-3 to look good.
Yeah, I think if I had to walk away, and I can't pick one of the Rumbles, because obviously McIntyre winning is it's match of the night. But number 2 for me was Undisputed Era and Imperium. Just because of what the circumstance was, and ultimately this was just a showcase of 7 great pro wrestlers. I loved it. I'm not gonna sit here and say 5.25 star, but A+ for enjoyment and funsies.
Yeah, I mean, you're supposed to leave live events feeling like, man, wrestling's my favorite thing in the world. I can't wait to put more money down.
Oh, how about we get those tickets for $30 an hour before the show starts? Just,
whew, what a great use of our money.
Yeah, right. I mean, not great for the WWE. I'm sure they would have loved. I know when I looked at the tickets, like when they were first released, they were more expensive and they were not as close as the seats that we got. So they definitely made some adjustments, and I feel bad for anybody that bought tickets right out of the gate because you overpaid. All right, Wednesday Night Wars. Mike, I was late to the show, but did catch up on NXT, and I think this was your week to watch AEW anyway?
Yeah, I know you're not as enamored as I am with AEW, so I took this one. Matt, number 3 moment from AEW. I'm going to say it's this build between John Moxley and the El Champion, as Jim Ross calls him, but he's Le Champion because he's, French-Canadian. It was classic, Jericho taunting and being smug, and Moxley jumping into not just the inner circle, but, like security guards and who's who of goofballs and black T-shirts. It's just going to be a great way to, kind of get us going for this pay-per-view here coming up in 2 weeks. The big AEW Who Hash, or, whatever they're calling it now, Bash at the Trash, or who cares? We're going to be there. And this is going to be the main event. And I think if you're not, if these promos that these guys are doing aren't doing anything for you, I mean, this is what wrestling is. These are 2 awesome professionals. Matt, what was your number 3 moment from NXT this week?
Well, I'm okay. So I'm looking at, you made a list, and then I did the old Control-Z after I started deleting everything. And now that I'm looking at it again, I am going to go with what I said. Number 3, though, I'll agree with you. Tommaso Ciampa getting some juice back with Undisputed Era after this long hiatus of the feud to just turn it right back up was fantastic. And everything they did here to mix it. I mean, whenever you get some blood mixed in, it's always, it adds a little bit extra heat. But I love this idea. I love that Ciampa's really going in full bore. And to the effect of Moxley and Jericho continuing conversations, this really felt like, let's turn the key. Maybe we lost the key for a little bit, but now we've got it. We're putting it back in the ignition, and man, we're going like 90 miles an hour down the highway right now with that promo. So that, for me, that's my number 3.
God, it was just beautiful and violent. I loved it a lot. Matt, kind of piggybacking off what my number 3 moment from AEW was, my number 2, Mrs. Adam Cole herself, Miss Britt Baker. Woo! Talk about throwing shade, Matt. Oh, my goodness. I don't know if you got to see her promo, but she called JR Jim and told him that he's a washed-up has-been who doesn't know the names of half the people on the roster.
Yes.
I was like, woo, that's got a little close to home. I don't know if they let her off the leash there. But of course, Jim Ross flubbed 5 people's names during the broadcast, including his best friend on the show, Chris Jericho, calling him El Champion. My man, God, why do I always want to call him? I always want to call him Excelsior. Excalibur, had to come to his aid and rescue the old fart again. So Jim, it might be time to hang him up. Britt, I'm so glad that you're not a face anymore. Should always be a heel. You're born to be a heel. More of this, AEW. Cody, if you're listening for some strong points, for some suggestions, that's what we want. Bang!
Woo!
Number 2 moment out of NXT. This was a great episode of NXT, by the way.
I think that what this means for me going forward made it so great because I popped when this happened. But Dijakovic and Keith Lee coming up. And so basically what we're talking about is Dijakovic taking down Priest. But if there's a feud that I feel like I went back and I watched their old matches. I'm pretty sure it was either PWG or NWA, but it was out in California. But I mean, you've seen this place. It's Knights of Columbus. The roof is just a couple of feet above the ring.
Dijakovic's headbutting it.
Yeah, exactly. So you could go back and watch these matches of Dijakovic and Keith Lee, and those are fantastic. But they have done such a good job of showing you how far they've come with their rivalry that really I think it's just getting juiced up because we haven't really seen too many actual finishes to their matches, and then they've even had some scuffles where they're tag teaming together, or at least I'm part of some fight where they're on the same side. And it's just been a great story. It's been super comic booky. I mean, they get together when they need to. There's a ton of respect there. It's like Charles Xavier and Magneto. Like, they just need to take each other down when the time comes. And goddamn, is it one of my favorite stories in pro wrestling? I think they have a lot of potential here, especially with Keith Lee blowing up to get a Gargano Ciampa level appreciation for a feud. Probably not as much heat as you get from Ciampa and Gargano, but definitely a ton of love and appreciation.
Oh, hell yeah.
So this is their opportunity to really knock this out of the park. You've got the North American Championship. Keith Lee's on a high, and it'll be TakeOver. I couldn't be more excited for what's coming up. So just the result of that match is what got me going.
Yeah, it's you and I are always going to say, like Undertaker Shawn Michaels is one of our favorite feuds, with like the classic David Goliath, but there's also something about Undertaker versus Batista, like two big, big guys
big
just slapping
meat.
Yeah. I think that's what this is. I think they're perfect foils for each other. I love that you can tell they're probably best friends in real life. And I know NXT going live, they regretted this a little bit that they didn't get to edit Damian Priest's really awkward promo where he said I take things that are important to me. Like sometimes I'll take a group of women. And
yeah, it's pretty ugly.
Keith Lee, even Keith Lee broke character. He Jimmy Falloned up there and had to turn away and be like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah, Priest.
The crowd. Though my favorite part of the crowd reaction was that they didn't cheer or boo. You just heard one dude in the background do. Like bombing at an open mic. Like you don't even heckle. You just give a whistle. It was rough. But, he's not out there to cut promos. He's out there to fight Dijakovic. They still had a great match. But, my God, somebody give that guy some cue cards. That was awful. My number one moment, it was just something that makes wrestling great, that, keeps it out of, being UFC, but also prevents it from being a real sport unless you count bowling. It was Hangman Page doing some cowboy shit.
Hell yeah.
Telling the Jackson brothers, hold my beer. And then, by God, one of his ungodly lariats over the top rope, that buckshot lariat. And then he finished his beer. Man, my only, I wouldn't call it a gripe, but I was just kind of like, man, you're going to pull that move wearing that shirt? I don't know what that flower pattern was, but it looked like 1997 The Rock. It was loud. Let me tell you, that was a loud shirt the Hangman was wearing. But yeah, I'm pumped to see the Super Kick Party, and they take on Kenny, Omega, and my boy Hangman. That's going to be a great clash. Even though, man, I don't know if you saw how much of AEW you saw, but Page also, when you win a belt, you get your little emblem on there.
Yeah.
He the storyline was he fashioned emblems for Matt and Nick Jackson for when they become tag champs.
Huh.
I can't imagine.
Oh, so we don't know what it is?
No, it's for them. Here, this is for when you guys win the tag team belts. You know, the belts I'm wearing with Kenny Omega. It's like, I can't imagine a world where Brock would give an emblem to Drew McIntyre. Here, this is when you beat my ass at WrestleMania. It's like, what? Why would you make this? You're supposed to retire as champion, not expect them to have a turn. But anyway, Matt, so Wednesday Night Wars, what was your number one moment for NXT?
Well, this could fall off my list because of who I wanted to win, but
I know
Broserweights and Grizzled Young Vets. I think it was like 35 minutes, right, that they put on. I mean, it was fantastic. And then when you start thinking about it, okay, now you get a tag championship shot, so I guess it does make more sense for it to be the Broserweights. Or you know, I like the. Oh my god, the Bros and Brews. There we go. I couldn't think of my own name for them. But yeah, this will make more sense. And I started to get over it. And the Grizzled Young Vets, at least now we know that they're getting some notice. That's my one hang up on the Worlds Collide. Is us not doing a if you hate Zach Gibson shoes off. I was really disappointed in myself.
What a missed opportunity.
Started. Yeah. But that's easily the number one, and that should be. I mean, for folks that are trying to compare these two shows, I don't know. It just kind of screams to me that the conversations I see on Twitter. Going back to people hating like Brock Lesnar doing so well the first half of that Rumble, I feel like we really have gotten past the point of analyzing this stuff reasonably and being critical for the right reasons, and we're just jumping to hate because I don't know, this was a lot of great pro wrestling, and talking with some buddies, it's just you can't get over that WWE hump. It's just, but, you know, Brock Lesnar did that, or, I don't know.
Sometimes I watch Netflix, and sometimes I watch Hulu. You know, sometimes I just want to watch some sports. It's, I had a great time on Sunday. I had a great time on Saturday. And Wednesday night, I loved watching Britt Baker verbally undress Jim Ross.
Yeah.
And Hangman Page passing a beer to a little boys with a receding hairline, so he could lariat the shit out of somebody. So I had fun, a lot of fun. I didn't even mention Monday with Randy Orton killing Edge, committing a live homicide on public.
Well, you did say that.
A live homicide. Well, I said murder. This was a homicide, Matt. There should be a chalk outline in that ring for what Randy Orton did.
Yeah, but it's murder. He didn't, right? Like the homicide.
That's a man death in Latin. Homicide. It's a man death.
Right. So, but that was murder. Like he picked up the chair and he wanted to murder Edge. Homicide would be like if he was coming around the corner and he hit Edge with his car and he didn't know Edge was there, right?
I think that's an
manslaughter.
That's in baseball. It's called an error.
Oh, okay. You just go mulligan on that one, Judge.
All right, put me in the books. I got an error. Whoops. You know.
All right, folks. So I was about to wrap up.
Let's wrap it up.
All right, let's wrap it up. All right, folks. Find us at bodpodcast.com, brothersofdiscussion.com. Check out that Detroit Red Wings podcast if you have the time. It's through the Hockey Podcast Network, and the Discussion 5 is the name of that show. And if you could, subscribe, rate, and review everything Brothers of Discussion. It helps us out a great deal. And like I said, we've got a new podcast distributor, so we should be coming to a few new channels that we weren't on before. So super exciting news. But we'll give you all the deets because it can take a few days for all that stuff to update. We'll give you guys all the deets when they come along. So stay tuned with brothersofdiscussion.com and bodpodcast.com to make sure you don't miss a thing. All right, everybody. Bye.